My boyfriend and I were about to get married, and my mother-in-law had already prepared a new house for us. Unexpectedly, my sister-in-law, who had been married for 10 years, suddenly moved in and brazenly declared, "On what grounds do you get the new house? We are all the parents' sons. They can't be so biased." In truth, when she got married, my parents-in-law had also prepared a new house of equivalent value for them. It's just that after 10 years, their house was now old. My mother-in-law looked troubled, wiped her tears, and didn't say a word. I smiled calmly and agreed to swap houses with my sister-in-law. My mother-in-law had been helping them by looking after their child for 10 years, and all her pension money went to them as well. I turned to look at my mother-in-law. She was still silent. They didn't know that Mark and I hadn't even registered our marriage yet. It was better that they showed their true colors early. In any case, I had no intention of stepping into the Tham family. If I didn't leave their entire family in ruins, my name wasn't Stella. I chuckled softly and asked Vivian, "Sister-in-law, since you feel everything is so unfair, why don't we just swap everything?" "What do you think?" Vivian's face immediately lit up, surprised that I was so easy to talk to. "Fine, let's swap." She held her head high with arrogance. "It's not like I'm taking advantage of you. As the eldest, I'm always the one making sacrifices." My mother-in-law, who had been silent until now, finally spoke up, beaming at me. "Stella is so understanding." My son has a good eye for people, marrying such a wonderful daughter-in-law as Stella. Mark looked at me with pride, his eyes seeming to say, "She's the most wonderful woman in the world." I walked over to stand next to Mark's older brother, intimately linking my arm with his and resting my head on his shoulder. "In that case, from now on, I'll also be swapping husbands with my sister-in-law. I'll live with the older brother, and you, sister, will live with Mark." Mark's expression changed instantly, and he pulled me back in anger. "Are you insane? What nonsense are you talking about?" "See?" He couldn't hold it in anymore. Couldn't pretend to be invisible any longer. I stared straight into Mark's face and smiled mockingly. "Oh, I thought you had gone mute." "Turns out you haven't." Mark awkwardly tried to placate me. "Don't be childish. We're all family. Let's talk things over calmly." Vivian's face grew even more unsightly. "Stella, what do you mean by this? How disgusting do you want to be? Demanding to swap men. Have you no shame?" I laughed softly in reply. "You were the one who said it. That they are both the parents' sons? Why should we get to use new things while your family has to use old ones? I'm just looking out for you. If you want new things, you should get a new man to go with them." Vivian's face turned red with anger, and she yelled at her mother-in-law. "Mom, listen to what your youngest daughter-in-law is saying. Can anyone even bear to hear it?" The mother-in-law turned to me. "Stella, that was too much. You are sisters-in-law. You should live in harmony." Vivian lost her patience. "Let's stop beating around the bush and talk about money. You two need to give us 250 million. I turned to look at Mark. He had gone mute again. It seemed he tacitly agreed that I should give his sister-in-law 250 million. I was with him because I am an only child. My family didn't ask for a bride price. And we certainly weren't short on that kind of pocket change. Mark's family only prepared a marital home that was solely in his name. From the age of 18, my parents had already bought me several houses, paid for in full. That's why I never cared whether my name was on the marital home's deed. I never imagined that my understanding would be seen in their eyes as being a pushover, an easy target, a fat chicken for them to tear apart. Seeing that I had no intention of taking out money, my mother-in-law started to gently persuade me. "Stella, you're new to the family, so you don't understand how things are. It's okay, I'll explain it and you'll understand. Vivian has been a daughter-in-law in this family for 10 years. Over these 10 years, she has taken care of Mark a lot. People say an elder sister-in-law is like a mother. For the past 10 years, your sister-in-law has sacrificed a lot for this family. You should be grateful in your hearts." I was so angry I laughed and turned to ask Mark, "Darling, did you grow up drinking your older sister-in-law's breast milk for the past 10 years? Mark choked on his saliva at my question, his face turning as red as an apple. "Of course not, don't be ridiculous. Then why does Mom say you have to be grateful to your sister-in-law?" "I thought she gave birth to you." Vivian was so furious, she stomped her feet. pointing her finger at my nose and scolding me. You have no upbringing at all. What kind of education did you receive to have such filthy things in your head? Or are you just rotten to the core? Mark quickly tried to soothe his sister-in-law. Sis, don't be angry. Stella is young, don't hold it against her. As for the 250 million, we'll take care of it. You've worked so hard taking care of Mom all these years. I'll transfer it to you immediately. With that, Mark generously transferred 250 million to Vivian right away. This money was his entire savings from 5 years of working, which was originally intended for me. I had just given it to him this morning because he said he wanted to start a business. Since it wasn't my money anyway, I didn't stop him. Once she had the money, Vivian finally started to smile. She hurriedly prepared to move, ordering me around like a servant. Stella, hurry up and help me move, I have a lot of stuff. Remember to call a proper moving company, not some dodgy one. I stood in place, smiling coldly. Suddenly, my mother-in-law grabbed my arm and dragged me towards the sister-in-law's house. Stella, just think of it as exercise to lose weight. Normally you have to pay to go to the gym. Now helping your sister-in-law move, you get a workout and it's free. My mother-in-law pulled me into the sister-in-law's house. But I didn't lift a finger, just stood to one side watching them work. Vivian would occasionally shoot me a sarcastic look, her tone dripping with mockery. Some people are just born lazy, not like me, born to suffer, always busy running around, right, Mark? Mark was enthusiastically helping his sister-in-law clean up, not forgetting to flatter her. Sister-in-law, you're the model of a good wife and mother. The family situation is better now. You won't have to work so hard anymore. For the first time in my life, I found Mark's handsome face so repulsive. It was also at that moment that I truly understood that marriage isn't just about two people in love. It's about two families. His elegance and courtesy throughout our 4 years of college, at this moment, all became things I could no longer tolerate. I couldn't be bothered with them anymore, picked up my phone, and prepared to go back. Who would have thought that as I reached the door, it started to rain? I suddenly remembered my car keys were still with Mark. I went back to get the keys, and as my hand touched the doorknob, I heard Vivian say, "That girl Stella is an only child. And what only child isn't spoiled? Someone like her?" Forget cooking and laundry. She probably wouldn't even bother to stand up a fallen bottle of oil. When Mom gets old, won't I be the one to take care of her? What can you expect from that Stella girl? It might sound crude, but it would be hard for Mom to even get a hot meal from her, let alone dream of more. The mother-in-law chimed in, eager to flatter her daughter-in-law. Vivian, I know you're the real good daughter-in-law. I'll have to rely on you in the future. Stella is just a pampered lady, and an only child at that. She'd have a hard time taking care of her own parents later. How can I expect anything from her? Vivian snorted coldly. Mom, don't be biased. If Stella won't contribute effort, she should at least contribute money. Yes, I will definitely make her contribute money. You giving me a grandson is your greatest contribution in my heart. Don't worry, I know how to coordinate with you. Suddenly, I didn't want to leave anymore. They were planning to take what was rightfully mine? They must be daydreaming. When I walked in, Mark was also standing there. This meant he had heard the entire conversation where his mother and sister-in-law were bad-mouthing me. Yet he stood there casually watching the show, as if it had nothing to do with him. Vivian glanced at me, her face showing no shame. Is the moving company here yet? I haven't called. Vivian's face darkened, and she was about to get angry when Mark quickly soothed her. Sis, let me call for you. I'll take care of it. Vivian glanced at me again, then continued to busy herself. After the moving company arrived, all the work was pushed onto them. The mother-in-law was so tired she could barely breathe. She massaged her back and turned to look at me. Stella, everyone in the family has been working hard all day, so you can cook dinner. I was about to open my mouth to argue, but Mark winked at me, signaling me not to get angry. He said with a smooth laugh, Mom, Stella doesn't know how to cook. Vivian sneered again with a mouthful of sarcasm. An only child for you, huh? Used to being spoiled by her mother at home, now acting like a lady in her husband's house. How is she going to serve her husband and children like this? The mother-in-law, afraid of angering her daughter-in-law, quickly turned to me and coaxed, "Stella, it's okay if you can't cook. Why don't you invite the whole family out to eat? You've just become a daughter-in-law. Treating the family to a meal is like a formal introduction. You have to show some sincerity." Mark, afraid I would refuse, quickly accepted on my behalf. "Of course, Mom. We're all one family. We should definitely have a proper meal." I was dragged by Mark to a 5-star restaurant. Great. They had clearly planned to come here to rip me off. Vivian ordered all the most expensive items. The mother-in-law was like a countrywoman in the city for the first time, grinning from ear to ear. "I've never had a 1982 Lafite wine in my life. Let's get a few bottles." After saying that, she turned to look at me. "Stella, you don't feel bad about this, do you?" "Oh, Mom, you think too much." Stella is an only child, and her family is wealthy. Why would she care about a little bit of money like this? I smiled. It was unclear if it was a real smile or a sarcastic one. "That's right. My family may not be super rich, but we certainly aren't short on money." Hearing that, the mother-in-law's face lit up. "Then I'll go ahead and order." "Go ahead, don't mind me. I'm not hungry, and I'm not eating." "You all can order whatever you want. I'm just here to make an appearance." Hearing me say that, the mother-in-law and Vivian took the opportunity to order a few more expensive dishes. After they had eaten their fill, the waiter brought the bill. "Why are you all looking at me?" "I didn't even pick up my chopsticks. I didn't eat a single bite." The mother-in-law's expression changed immediately, and she scolded me out of embarrassment. "We already said at the beginning that you were treating the whole family. You heard us when we were ordering, didn't you? What do you mean by not paying now?" I smiled faintly, waiting for the right moment to make my move. I never agreed. Besides, I never treat people I'm not close with to a meal, especially not this kind of ridiculously expensive one. "Mark, a man has to teach his woman. What's this about not close? Making the whole family lose face in public, is that fun for you?" Vivian acted like the lady of the house. A single glance at Mark was like a command. Mark's older brother Brandon also spoke up reproachfully. "Sister-in-law, since you're married to Mark, you're part of the Tham family. How can you say we're not close?" "That's not right of you to say." Mark, concerned about his pride, snapped at me. "Stella, stop making a scene. You're not short on money. Why do you have to make such a big deal? Pay up, don't make us a laughingstock." I smiled faintly, my voice full of sarcasm. "I'm determined not to pay. 1, I never agreed to treat you. 2, I didn't eat a single bite. You're the one who dragged me here. I only came along to make an appearance." Slap. The mother-in-law's face changed, and she slammed her hand on the table, making the dishes rattle with a deafening noise. "You've just entered our family and you're already causing trouble like this. I see you have no intention of living a decent life with Mark." Vivian chimed in. "I heard my sister-in-law uses handbags that cost hundreds of millions. She doesn't hesitate to buy bags, but she's so stingy about treating her family to one meal." "Family? Who is my family?" "I don't know anyone here who is my relative." I laughed coldly, my sarcastic tone driving Mark crazy. He shot up from his seat, his eyes wide as he yelled, "How long are you going to keep this up? It's just one meal. Do you really need to embarrass the whole family like this?" This was the first time Mark had ever gotten angry with me. Throughout our 7 years of dating, he had always been gentle and refined, completely different from the person he was now. I also stood up, my eyes cold and direct. "Mark, can't you see? I don't want to be with you anymore." The mother-in-law couldn't sit still any longer and stood up to mock me. "Don't you try to threaten my son with that trick. Everyone knows you were the one who pursued him, begging him to marry you. You love him to death. Otherwise, why would you agree to marry him without asking for anything? Stella, stop with the princess act. I advise you not to cause any more trouble. If my son gets angry and leaves you, I won't be the one to keep you." I burst out laughing so hard my stomach hurt. "I don't need to beg anyone. The point is, I don't want him anymore. So, for this meal, you're on your own." The waiter, seeing that no one was willing to pay, reminded them. "Could you please come to an agreement on the payment quickly? If you don't pay, we will have to call the police." At the mention of calling the police, Vivian became even more frantic. Stella, if you let a single meal ruin your marriage, it will be too late for regrets. We were talking very loudly, and soon we had attracted a lot of customers from the neighboring rooms to watch the spectacle. Seeing them, some panicked, some angry, I felt an indescribable sense of satisfaction. Vivian, you don't need to worry about me. You should worry about yourself. Tell me, if I show everyone this, will you still have a place in the Tham family? I walked up to her and took out my phone to show her a picture. As soon as she glanced at it, Vivian's face changed, and she frantically snatched the phone from my hand. Crash! Vivian angrily threw my phone to the ground. The screen shattered, and it went black on the spot. She let out a sigh of relief, then pointed at me in a rage, spit flying. Stella, you are so malicious. You tricked my whole family here to eat and then refused to pay. What are you planning? The mother-in-law was also so angry she burst into tears. I've lived this long and have never been so humiliated. You've just stepped into my home and you've already shamed me like this. Brandon's face darkened, and he shifted the blame to Mark. Second brother, your woman, are you going to manage her or not? Just let her do whatever she wants. He deliberately emphasized each word. Managing a woman isn't just about using your mouth. Those words were basically a veiled suggestion for Mark to hit me. I walked straight up to Brandon, my eyes as sharp as a knife, staring him down. Are you inciting your brother to hit me? Inciting others to commit intentional injury. Don't you know that's against the law? Brandon retorted stiffly, pointing to the ground for emphasis. This is a family matter. It's natural for a man to discipline his wife. The onlookers who had gathered began to offer their advice. Come on, you're all one family. A harmonious family brings prosperity. If you can afford to eat at such a fancy place, you can definitely afford to pay. Don't let a little money ruin your family ties. Young lady, you're new to the family. Since you said you would treat them, just pay up. Don't cause any more embarrassment. Seeing the crowd leaning in her favor, Vivian became more emboldened and turned to accuse me in front of everyone. Our Tham family is just an ordinary family. My new sister-in-law, she herself said that the whole family worked hard moving all day. She said she wanted to treat us to a lavish meal to be proper. Who would have thought that after we finished eating, she would go back on her word? It's clear she's deliberately playing a trick on us. Everyone, tell me, how can someone make a joke out of others like that? The gazes of the people around me suddenly turned full of indignation. If you make a promise, you have to keep it. How can a person not keep their word? The people she invited to eat aren't even strangers. They're all family. I let out a cold laugh. Family? Me and them, none of us are family to each other. Vivian was so angry her hands trembled, and she raised her hand to point at my face. You are so despicable. You are married to Mark, which means you are part of the Tham family. I know you look down on our family, you think we're poor, right? But this meal was promised by you, you must pay for it. It's not over just because you say you won't. After this meal, even if you get down on your knees and beg, I will never give you the face to sit and eat with us again. I let out a sarcastic laugh, looking at Vivian. I invited you to eat? Are you from Dunhuang? With a face that thick, I doubt even the murals there could depict it all. Mark pulled my arm, his expression annoyed. Stella, can you say a little less? Give me some face, can't you? Give you face? I laughed coldly. Who the hell are you that I should give you face? As soon as the words left my mouth, Mark looked as if he'd been stabbed. He furrowed his brows, his eyes looking at me as if I were a stranger, staring at me intently. What did you say I am? I am your man, your husband. I threw my head back and laughed even louder. Man? Husband? Have you forgotten? Is your memory that bad? Have you forgotten that we haven't even registered our marriage yet? Mark froze, clearly just remembering that fact, his face momentarily tensing. What do you mean? I've made it perfectly clear. I don't want you anymore. I never received a single penny from your family. We are not legally married, and we haven't had a wedding. To put it bluntly, we are just boyfriend and girlfriend, nothing more. Furthermore, I already told you I was breaking up with you from the beginning. It was your own delusion and overconfidence that made you think otherwise. So on what grounds should I have to treat a group of people who are not my relatives to such an expensive meal? Vivian, the mother-in-law, and Brandon were all stunned into silence. Auntie, you two? You're not registered? That's right. We haven't had the chance to register. Because I requested a premarital health checkup, we were delayed by a day. And thank goodness for that day, because it allowed me to see the true faces of your entire family. I took out my backup phone and showed a video to the crowd of onlookers. Everyone, look closely. This is a recording from the moment I entered the restaurant until after the meal, including when the waiter brought the bill. In the video, I didn't eat a single bite, nor did I ever say I would pay. The crowd gathered to watch the video. Vivian frantically rushed forward to try and snatch the phone, but I pushed her away. What are you afraid of? Get away from me. You've already broken one of my phones. You can get ready to pay for it. The mother-in-law's expression changed instantly. She lowered her head and tried to make peace. Stella, don't do this. If there's an issue, we can sit down as a family and talk it out properly. It's true that we ordered a bit too much today, but it definitely won't happen again next time. You absolutely must not fight with Mark over this. It's all my fault. You two should go and register your marriage quickly. She understood very well that once we were registered, it would be easier for her to control me. I sneered, my voice full of mockery. Thank you, Auntie. Thanks to you and Vivian, I managed to dodge a ticking time bomb in this family. I will, of course, get married, but absolutely not to Mark. I gloated silently. After watching the video, the crowd began to turn in my favor, with people speaking up to defend me. This family is truly shameless. Did they think that just because the girl was married, they could rip her off however they wanted? I see they noticed she's an only child and intended to squeeze every last penny out of her. A family with no decent people. They don't have money, but still dare to order an $880,000 meal. They deserve this. Even if they were really married, you can't treat someone's daughter like that. A bunch of bloodsuckers. It's lucky this girl was smart enough to record everything from the start. Mark, realizing I wasn't joking, started to panic. He tried to make up, reaching out to hold my hand. Stella, this is my fault. It won't happen again. We've had feelings for each other for so many years. Let's not break up, okay? I coldly slapped his hand away. It's too late, Mark. If from the very beginning, when your sister-in-law and your mother were bullying me, you had been willing to say just one word, I wouldn't have bothered to leave. The outcome today was created by your own family, and you brought it upon yourself. Vivian let out a contemptuous laugh, her voice sharp. You're just used goods. My brother-in-law has slept with you for years. Who else would want a woman like you? She turned to encourage Mark. Mark, stop indulging her. She's just threatening you. How could she really leave you? Vivian's words seemed to boost Mark's confidence. Stella, please don't be angry, okay? If you don't like my family, we can move out and live on our own in the future, okay? This is where the real drama truly began. I glanced past Mark, Vivian, and Brandon, then slowly began to speak. Mark, let me tell you a secret. A secret that will ensure you can never be separate from this family for the rest of your life. Can you guess why? Mark frowned, looking at me with suspicion. Because your mother is expecting you to be the heir for both of her sons. You're talking nonsense. Mark roared in anger. Stella, if you dare to speak such rubbish again, I'll tear your mouth apart. Vivian rushed forward, her face ferocious, and pushed my shoulder hard. I didn't hesitate and immediately swung my hand, slapping her straight across the face. Let me tear your face apart first. The slap was very hard, leaving 5 bright red finger marks on Vivian's face and even knocking her to the ground. Mark's mother, Susan, began to panic, her shoulders trembling slightly. Stella, I know you don't like me, but you can't just make things up. Their whole family was not only thick-skinned but also skilled at sophistry. I calmly took a voice recorder from my bag. I'm not like you people, whose mouths spout nonsense without a second thought. I don't speak without evidence. I looked over at Brandon, my voice cold. You still don't know anything. You have cancer. You're dying. But your mother and your wife have absolutely no intention of getting you treated. Your mother has it all planned out. After you die, She let your younger brother inherit both your wife and your child.
And have your son call Mark father? Brandon was furious, his eyes bulging as he glared at me. You're lying!
If you keep talking like this, don't blame me. Mark quickly pulled me behind him, his grip so tight it bruised my wrist.
Stop causing trouble!
We'll talk about it when we get home. Don't talk nonsense in a public place. I immediately shook his hand off and slapped him across the face. You have no right to touch me. With that, I pressed play on the recorder. Susan and Vivian's voices immediately filled the room. Susan's hesitant voice. The fate of my Brandon is so bitter to get such an incurable disease. Vivian, you are still so young. I know it's not right to ask you to remain a widow, but I can't bear to be apart from my grandson. Can you promise me you won't leave this family? I'll have Mark take care of you to be your husband in Brandon's place. I really can't stand the thought of my grandson calling another man father. Vivian's nonchalant reply. I'll do whatever you say.
Mom, but we have to keep this from Stella. I'm afraid she'd cause a scene.
Once Mark and I are a done deal, it will be too late for her to make a fuss. The entire room immediately erupted. The crowd of onlookers grew more and more excited, unable to look away. The 4 members of the Tham family all turned pale, as if they'd been struck by lightning. I had recorded this a week ago after accidentally overhearing them.
Because I work as a lawyer, I always have a recorder in my bag out of habit.
At that time, I had quietly recorded their entire conversation. Initially, I had planned to wait for the right moment to talk to Mark directly and see his reaction. It was also because I knew about his brother's illness that I agreed to a simple ceremony, foregoing all the elaborate formalities. I never expected that his whole family was a pack of white-eyed wolves. It's all fake! Fake! This is all a conspiracy by that woman Stella. Vivian screamed like a madwoman, as if the louder she screamed, the more she could hide the truth. Brandon looked as if he'd been struck by lightning in a clear sky, staring at Susan and Vivian, his eyes full of disappointment and rage. Why would you treat me like this, huh? Mom swears it's not true, son. Don't listen to her lies. Susan also joined in the denial. Brandon's eyes were bloodshot, his whole body trembling with anger and panic. So, the test results from a month ago were malignant. You didn't want to get me treated, so you lied and told me it was nothing. While Vivian and Susan were still trying to argue, I took a piece of paper from my bag and handed it to Brandon. This is your diagnosis, which your mother hid. I found it by accident. I originally planned to tell Mark, but I didn't have the right opportunity. Vivian was stunned as if struck by lightning.
She never expected that I not only had photos and evidence on my phone, but also kept the original documents.
She thought that by smashing my phone, I would be unable to expose the truth. Unfortunately for her, she was too naive. Brandon, in a state of collapse, threw a powerful punch at Vivian's face. You rotten woman! You wished for my death that badly? I treated you so well. I listened to you and everything. Vivian fell to the ground, her nose bleeding profusely, sobbing but still stubbornly insisting she was not in the wrong. I didn't want to hide it from you either, but your illness is incurable. Telling you would only make you more upset and die sooner.
Brandon was driven mad with anger and was about to hit her again, but was held back by the onlookers.
He was crying and screaming as he questioned Susan. You're my biological mother,
and yet you didn't plan to get me treated. A mother like you?
I don't acknowledge you anymore. Son, I was only trying to do what's best for you. I was at my wit's end. It's not that I didn't want to get you treated, but your illness is incurable. The crowd angrily shouted at Susan. Even if the illness is incurable, you can't let the husband's younger brother steal his wife. That's terrifying to hear. Exactly. Do they think this is still the feudal era? Susan still didn't see that she was wrong and even put on a sincere and persuasive act. I was only thinking of this family. I didn't want my eldest daughter-in-law to marry someone else, and I certainly didn't want her to take my grandson with her. Everything I did was to preserve the bloodline of the Tham family. It's been very hard on me. Mark burst out laughing, his eyes bloodshot as he looked at his mother in anger. So, did you ask me? Did you ask if I agreed? Stella and I were doing so well.
Why did you have to create such a mess? The scene descended into chaos, and all 4 members of the Tham family were red-faced with shame.
The crowd was buzzing with discussion, without a single word of defense for them. Brandon, heartbroken and suffocated, sat down on the floor, his face stained with tears.
He almost believed Susan and Vivian's words that everything was for his sake.
I took out another set of documents from my bag and handed them to Brandon.
I think even if you are to die, you should die knowing the truth. Don't die and have it benefit someone else. And certainly don't raise another man's child. Brandon's tears stopped abruptly.
He was stunned, his hands trembling as he took the paternity test report from my hand. Vivian went mad, lunging to grab the test results.
It's fake! It's all fake! Stella, you bitch! You won't be happy until you've destroyed my entire family, will you? I pushed her away, not letting her get near Brandon. I deliberately stalled to give him time to read the results carefully.
Vivian screamed like a wild animal, lunging to scratch and tear at me.
You vicious woman, I'll kill you. If you won't let me be, I won't let you live either. I kicked Vivian squarely in the stomach, my voice cold as ice.
Vivian, people like you are the ones who will never have a day of peace.
You're the type of woman who has an affair and gives birth to an illegitimate child. What right do you have to call me a slut?
Is there anyone as slutty as you?
So slutty that you're waiting for your husband to die so you can marry your brother-in-law. Not a single decent word can come out of your dog mouth.
I'll kill you. I'll kill this rotten woman. Vivian screamed and lunged to attack me. But before I could even make a move,
Brandon, at the peak of his fury, lunged forward and pinned her to the ground. He hit her while screaming, "You rotten woman! You've made my life so miserable.
You treated me like this, made me raise another man's child. Do you have any conscience at all?"
Susan picked up the paternity test report, her hands trembling. After a long look, she finally completely collapsed. She went mad, rushing to attack Vivian. "You evil woman! You've brought ruin to my Tham family's home.
I'll beat the wolf-hearted creature that you are to death." Mark looked as if the sky had fallen, staring at me in a panic, stammering, "You ... how did you know about this?" I replied calmly. "Initially, I wanted to help your brother, so I took the child for a health checkup to see if he could be a marrow donor. I happen to know a very famous medical professor."
But during the checkup, there was a problem with the child's results. I was suspicious, so I ran a paternity test. As expected, the results confirmed that the child is not your brother's biological son. Brandon's face was streaked with tears, and he looked at me emotionally, crying like a rainstorm. "Stella, you are truly a good person. Our whole family was deceived by that slut Vivian. Please, help me one last time. I want to live."
"I'm begging you." Susan suddenly dropped to her knees in front of me. "Stella, the mistakes were all caused by that slut Vivian.
I'll kick her out of the house. As long as you're willing to help my eldest son, whatever you ask me to do, I'll agree." Mark also spoke up, pleading. "Stella, for the sake of our years of love, give me one last chance, can you?"
His eyes were red, tears streaming down his face, looking quite pathetic.
But I was not moved at all, only coldly pushing his hand away when he tried to embrace me. "A rotten, decaying, scheming family like yours? I will never look back. Stop dreaming."
"Seeing your family so utterly humiliated like this brings me immense joy."
The situation was so chaotic that the hotel manager had to intervene. After assessing the situation, he immediately called 110. The police arrived and demanded that the Tham family pay the bill, but they couldn't produce 880,000 yuan. Mark suddenly remembered the 250,000 yuan he had transferred to Vivian and demanded that she take the money out to pay. But Vivian was notoriously stingy. Once money was in her hands, you could forget about getting it back. She just said one thing: "I don't have money, just one life.
Take it if you want."
That sentence completely enraged Brandon.
He immediately grabbed a chair and smashed it over Vivian's head.
Thud, thud, 2 thunderous blows.
Vivian collapsed, blood pouring from her head.
If the police hadn't intervened, Brandon would have surely killed her on the spot.
Because they had no money to pay, the entire Tham family was taken to the police station by the police.
I left gleefully amidst their wails. Bye-bye! You can all continue to stick together and struggle in that mud pit. Behind me, Mark's sobbing cries still echoed, his voice hoarse from shouting. Stella, please, just one last time. I can't live without you. The story was quickly filmed by someone and posted online, causing a public storm. Later, the newspapers reported that the Tham family had to sell all their property just to have enough money to pay the restaurant bill. Before the hot search could die down, another shocking piece of news shot straight to the top. Brandon, knowing he didn't have long to live, in a fit of rage, attacked Vivian's entire family and then ended it all. In the end, that news continued to dominate the top search rankings for several days. Susan was so shocked that her hair turned white overnight. Her life fell into destitution, and she had to collect scrap to survive day by day. Mark completely collapsed, living a vagrant life in a drunken haze, like a cockroach that wouldn't die, shamelessly begging me to come back day after day. That was until I sent him a picture of a marriage certificate with someone else. I added a message. Away from you, my life is truly very happy. Stop clinging to me like a dog's plaster. Without you, I only feel lucky and have never regretted it. I changed all my contact methods so that Mark could never find me again. From now on, I will walk my own path full of flowers. The Tham family? They were merely a trivial episode, not even worthy of being compared to a fart in my life.